Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sunday edition of Breakfast Extra. Yes, that's right, the best alternative to church, as they say this fine morning. Can I hear an amen? Perhaps not. Now, if you kindly turn your gospel according to Modern Politics, chapter EFCC, verses 19 counts of alleged misconduct, we find ourselves embroiled in the epic saga of Cain and Abel. Sorry, no, that's not correct. Yahaya Bello and Adedipe, where God hath asked Barrister Adedipe, "Where is thy brother?" The former governor, who has managed to dodge court appearances like a seasoned escaped artist. To this, Adedipe responded, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Oh, but today's sermons isn't just about the sins of one man. No, it's about the divine comedy unfolding in the courtrooms. As the EFCC prays fervently for justice, we see Yahaya Bello's lawyer, Adeola Adedipe, caught in the holy crosshairs or crossfire, trying to pass the buck faster than you can say hallelujah. With Yahaya Bello still missing in action, his lawyer faces the wrath of prosecution, who argue that even a lawyer can indeed be docked for his client's sins, causing his plea, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Indeed, it was drama at the courts as Adedipe asked a very relevant question. If the EFCC cannot find Yahaya Bello, how then can I? So, dear congregation, let's watch as this biblical drama unfolds as we gather to witness this modern-day parable of trust, betrayal, and courtroom theatrics, while remembering that in the world of politics, it's always the lawyer who ends up bearing the cross. Let us pray. Dear God, it is you we have come to this hard times. Nigeria is struggling. The naira is in decline, inflation soaring, prices through the roof, our wallets empty, and that's the honest truth. Give us strength to face each passing day when basic needs feel so far away. Please put food on our tables, a luxury it may seem, as our economy falls apart, even at the very seams. We're tired, Lord. Lord, we are tired of all these empty promises. Politicians talk, but the suffering persists. Minimum wage debates, they just don't cease. While common folk are begging for release, grant our leaders wisdom. Show them the way to lift us from this economic decay. Corruption's grip, Lord, please help us break free. Restore our nation's prosperity. In your name we pray for these better days, for jobs, for growth, for better ways, to build a future we can believe in, where our children's dreams ain't just for dreaming. Amen. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Apil, and together with Sister Judith Atibi, hey Judith, say hi. We are going to be leading opening daily headlines when we return. But Judith, can I hear an hallelujah from you? Hallelujah! That's a good one. Stay tuned. Coming up next for Breakfast Extra for a Sunday edition will be the dailies.
And as we continue with our congregation for this morning, our very Sunday preaching, we'll get started with our sermon for today. So welcome to today's edition of Breakfast Extra. I am your minister alongside my other minister here. My name is Judith Atibi. So we are your go-to source for in-depth analysis and engaging discussion on the most pressing issues as well. And so today's show, we will, delve into the implications of Yahaya Bello's repeated absences, from court. We would also examine the aftermath of the Karu market fire in Abuja and, discuss so much more. It might be a dire summon as well, because we'd also be heading to South Africa as well to discuss the alarming rise of kidnap for ransom incidents in South Africa. And we'd also explore the enduring impact or the beneficial impact of the Igbo apprentice system and apprenticeship system on education and entrepreneurship. So much is lined up. But hey, Well done, by the way.
Thank you very much, sister Judith.
Brother Mizuno.
Yes, we'll go into songs and worship. E-sharp.
Well, to be honest, I did not bring Ofrino, so I don't know how to do this thing.
Don't scare them. We'll talk about that before the end of summits. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's do the dailies for you. We're going to be starting, let me get confirmation this morning, starting with the Tribune newspaper for a Sunday morning. And if you have a copy of the Tribune, you'd find this big headline here: "Don't allow what happened in Kenya to occur in Nigeria." Ooh, that's a topic now. That's from Onayekan, as he warns the federal government advises lawmakers to make good laws for Nigeria. It's good to see that we have our eyes on Kenya, noting that the circumstances aren't too different, whether population-wise or policy-wise. So many things wrong with Tinubu's Democracy Day heroes list. Retired Colonel Nyam says an Adeleke unfolds action plan for agriculture in Osun State, promises farm imputes tractors to farmers. That's grand. 10 days to coronation Olakulehin. Not an easy walk to the throne of Olubadan. The controversy's final triumph, find that on page 8. And woman jumps to death from flyover in Delta. Very sad. She was only 25 years old and she died. Release Kanu NSAR's protesters. Others, Obi tells Tinubu, and 7 killed, 15 injured as woman detonates bomb at wedding ceremony. We'll be taking a first look at that one this morning here on the show if you stay tuned right after the dailies.
Very sad indeed. We move now from Sunday Tribune and now to the very next one, which is The Nation for the Sunday. The very first one that jumps at you there: how FG's 1 trillion naira stimulus package will reflect economy. And that's from experts there. NAFDAC DG hails executive order on drugs, pharmaceutical consumables manufacturing. You can find that story on page 4. 8 killed in suicide attack at Borno wedding. That story is on page 4 as well. Obomosho Soshon chief imam feud deepenings as court restrains monarch. That story is on page 5. 5. Electricity, NARC transfers regulatory oversight to Imo. You can find the story on page 7. At the very top there, the very first one that comes at you: government orders IP's payroll update to curb salary fraud. That story is on page 2. Inflation rate may drop to 29% by year end. PwC report, and that story is on page 5. I wonder how that drastic drop is going to happen from 33.98% to 29%. We'll wait and see.
29%. Does it seem lofty? It's only just by a figure, just a digit now, isn't it?
29 from 33.
Oh, wow, that's 4. Sorry, my math wasn't mathing. The Punch newspaper for a Sunday here: 21 states operate local government areas with caretaker committees. 21 states out of 36. Interesting. Page 3 read there. States should allow LGs employ full autonomy, says Algon, and governors should allow LGs to breathe, operate without interference, say experts. At the top for the Punch: Ondo, Enugu, Jigawa. 24 others failed to accept, or rather assess, 36 billion naira UBEC grant. Minister steps into IG PSC role over constable recruitment. Oh, that happened. And at the side for the Punch: Tinubu must act fast to lift Nigerians out of misery, says Nadeco spokesman Okwadokun. And how I killed Uniben graduate, 8 others, says suspect Gori. Religious leaders opposing culture turning religion into idolatry, retired clergy says. And at the bottom there, economic hardship plunges women into unsafe abortion, ignoring life-threatening risks. That's a special we should do on a Breakfast Extra, actually, as times get hard. What alternatives do people have for birth control, and what are the implications or the complications, indeed, that could happen if these are not readily available. Let's move now to the next paper, shall we?
Yes, indeed. As we pull up the next one there for you, it's a Sunday Independent. The very first one that comes at you there: experts accuse federal government of slumbering as food crisis overwhelms Nigeria. Says Tinubu's government has no plan to contain acute food shortage. Insists APC government lacks ideas to rescue Nigeria at this critical time. You can find that story on page 3. At the very top there: silence over Rivers explosion unsettling, say opposition leaders, as Arawa youths blame pro-Wike supporters, say move might to coerce lawmakers to back state of emergency rule. That story is on page 3. Right next to it, there's grand plot to destroy rivers. Bishop Edoro warns. That story is on page 6. All right, when you come to the bottom there, you can see Edo 2024 ahead of the elections there. Igodalo and the Prosperity for All battle cry. That story is on page 8. At the bottom there, you see Nigeria will break up at the right time. And that's from Primate Ayodele. That story is on page 7. Don't buy presidential jets now. Nigerians tell presidency, NAS. And that's from NAS there. It goes, say current economic realities make such acquisition unpatriotic. Well, you can say that again for those at the back. At the bottom there, police vow to arrest murderers of Benue community leader. That story is on page 4. And you can see that box there highlighted in red. Stakeholders canvass dissolution of AMCON as it falls into irrelevance. That story is on page 2.
The Sunday Times is up next. Weekend of Terror. And this is no surplus of words. That's exactly what happened over the weekend yesterday. Female suicide bomber with baby wreaks havoc at Borno wedding. The numbers are still sketchy and still coming in as details pour in. We'll be visiting that story first off as we head into the show proper. Sex for Marks, steps to shield female students from sharks on hawks. And also at the bottom, APC UK boils over leadership position. Secretary alleges breaches, and court jails father for 14 years for raping, impregnating daughter in Bayelsa. Sad. Benga Dinka, perceptive comic with broad worldview, a little piece there that you might want to read. Of course, we all know that he is a very big Nigerian stand-up comedy, which is very interesting as we're going to be touching on the rebirth of Nigerian comedy today. And that's it for the Sunday Times.
Right. We understand that we're moving on now because we understand that we have Umaru Kirawa, our correspondent, who is on standby live in Borno, Maiduguri. Yes, we understand that our correspondent, he is on standby to give us more details on the suicide bombing attack that happened in Benue State.
Borno State, right?
Borno State, I beg your pardon, forgive me. Umaru, are you there?
Breaking indeed, we begin with a developing story out of Borno State where tragedy struck through the course of yesterday. Authorities have confirmed a devastating suicide attack involving at least one female bomber at the Marabati Junction in Gwoza local government area. The female attacker, who had an improvised explosive device, IED, wrapped with her baby, detonated the device in a crowded area, resulting in the deaths of no less than 8 people, including herself and what many say was a child she was carrying, while 15 others sustained injuries.
Now, details are still emerging and information continues to trickle in as we strive to piece together the full scope of this horrific incident. And so to provide us with the latest update and on-ground insights, we're now being joined by Umaru Kirawa, our News Central correspondent. Umaru, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you for doing this with us. We understand that you are currently at a teaching hospital at the capital, right? So just give us a bit of current situation. What's going on right now where you're at?
Thank you very much. Right now, I am at the State Specialist Hospital, Maiduguri, where some of the victims of the bomb explosion are receiving treatment. And then the death toll keeps rising based on the information trickling down from Boza by the Director General of SEMA, Dr. Muhammad Barkindo, is saying that he has confirmed that 18 people have been reported dead. And based on the early morning information that I got at the hospital, one patient also gave up last night after surgery at the University of Maiduguri.
And very, very sad.
After successful surgery at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, making a total of 19 deaths so far. And then families keep coming to the hospital to sympathize and then to meet their loved ones, particularly those in Maiduguri, the state capital, because access road to Goza there is no access road to Goza town because of the magnitude of the situation and of course the threat by the people using the IEDs. And the security forces are taking over to ensure that law and order is maintained, and of course, other potential threats are being tackled. And here at the State Specialist Hospital, the deputy leader of the Goza Local Government Council is here with me to tell us more about unfolding developments. So you are welcome. Yes. So what is it like? What is the situation like? Keep us up to speed with information of what is happening and the efforts you people are making.
Abubuwan da yake faruwa a garinmu na Goza gaskiya abu ne na bikin ciki sosai. A yanayin yadda muka sami 'yan uwa duka abubuwan ya faru da su gaskiya ba abu ne na daɗi ba, gaskiya sai dai hakuri. Amma muna nan dai muna iya kokarin mu muna ga mu ga cewa an samu saukin abubuwan gaba ɗaya. So duka da muna nan hospital muna bi duk wanda abubuwan ya faru da su gaba ɗaya. So muna bi kansu. Allah ya ga kuma duka abubuwan za a samu saukin sa insha Allah. So muna godiya sosai ga al'umman Goza kuma muna neman ɗauki a gurin manya-manyan mu na Goza da kuma shi Professor Babagana Umaru Zalman gwamnan mu kenan. Muna neman ɗauki gaskiya muna neman ɗauki sosai har ga Allah akan yanayin abubuwan da yake faruwa. So muna neman taimakon su jama'a shine abin da muke neman.
Yes, the deputy leader was saying that, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead with the translation for us.
Yes, the deputy leader was saying that the horrific incident is very unfortunate, but as a government representative, they are doing everything humanly possible to support the victims and provide the necessary support. However, it is calling on the state government and other well-to-do individuals to support the families and, of course, put more effort in bringing modalities that will end these horrific incidences that are happening in Goza. And here with me again, I have another family who has his friends, who have lost his friends, who will tell us more about the updates this year. So first to tell us your full name.
Yeah, my name is Babashir Saidu from Goza Local Government.
Okay, so what is the situation like?
Well, actually, the situation is very horrific and tragic because we have found ourselves in a very difficult and trying moment where a lot of us lost our friends, families, and associates. Particularly for myself, I lost 5 from the time of the incidents to this morning. 3 instant deaths and the 2 gave up last night at Goza, pending to referral down to the degree here overnight due to perhaps maybe internal bleeding or whatsoever medical condition. So, but seriously speaking, this is something that we are trying to put ourselves together to cope, because this has taken us back to the memory of 2014 when we totally thought that all these things have gone. All of a sudden, in a peaceful like Goza, such thing, happened. Although there is an unconfirmed report that there are a series of these suicide bombers already spread around town, where we have confirmed that curfew has been imposed on the people of Goza in order to fish out the remaining, bombers.
Yes. Thank you so much. And in addition to Baba Shehu, a mother is here with me too, who she will also give us her own line of story. So, Mama, the first thing I'm going to say kuma ya ake ciki.
Sunana Aisha Usman.
Okay, wani yanayi kike ciki yanzu?
Kan yanayin da ya gashi na yaro na ko magana ma baya yi. Yanzu haka jiki gaba ɗaya yaran mu kuma sun mutu da yawa. Yanzu dai muna fama muna cikin bakin ciki, amma ubangijin Allah ya yi mana. Allah ya kawo musu sauki.
Ni kan ina cikin bakin ciki don yaro na ko magana baya yi. Ina cikin bakin ciki tun jiya yaro na baya magana. Well, this is the situation right now, and this is the mood of most families and friends who are coming to meet their loved ones, and some of the victims here at the State Specialist Hospital and other locations within the metropolis. What this mother said is that her young boy was brought yesterday to the hospital, and up to now, the young boy cannot speak. And this is a major worry. And then the death of many others is a major source of concern that needs to be tackled. This can be linked to what the commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force said during his briefing in Maiduguri at the Memalari military cantonment, saying one of the challenges that the military is facing now is the use of IEDs by these terrorist groups, and then some of the insurgents that are marauding within the shores of the Lake Chad and other parts of the state. But hopefully, it's a hope of the people that peace will be regained, and of course, business and other social activities will continue as normal. This is the hope and prayers of many. And then,
Umaru,
this is just it from here.
It got very emotional there for a minute, but we would like to find out, has there been any claim from any groups who have taken responsibility for the attack?
Well, so far, there's no group has claimed the attack so far, but then it's obvious the Boko Haram insurgents and some of the ISWAP fighters marauding the shores of the Lake Chad. This is one of the things that they use, which can be alluded to what the force commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force said during an international conference here in Maiduguri. But no group has claimed the attack so far.
Okay.
Right. Umaru, can I just ask, right, because just watching the mother there and also watching the friend of a deceased person talk is it's very heart-wrenching. So it makes me wonder, one of the things we have to do is to humanize the numbers. Can you tell us a bit about the numbers of people that have lost their life? How many, what are their sexes and age, if you have that information, please?
Well, so far, based on the information, like I've said earlier, the Director General of SEMA reported that 18 were dead in Goza town, to be specific, because it's in Goza. And for us here, we have 2 that died. One yesterday night, 2 of them yesterday night. One was brought and he died instantly, making the number to be 28 so far.
Okay. Then Umaru, about the instance, it's been told in the news that this was it involved a wedding ceremony and it also involved a baby. How can you confirm this, please?
Yes, it was actually about 3 in 3 different locations. The incidents happened at in 3 different locations. First, it happened during the wedding, and then secondly at the hospital, General Hospital, Goza, and then I can't give specific locations, but it's happened in about 4 locations, and one was arrested, I think. That's based on the information I'm getting.
Yeah, about the information regarding the suicide bomber with a baby, can you confirm that there was a baby involved?
Yes, this is what most people are saying.
So you're saying that this happened within what time frame? Was it an hour interval with all of these sites where the bombings happened? And was there a chance where any of the IEDs were detonated?
Well, the incidents, based on reports that I'm getting, the incident happened around 3:30 p.m. yesterday. And then immediately the one that was detonated during the wedding ceremony, then immediately they went to the hospital because immediately the incident happened, casualties were taken to the hospital. So at the hospital, it occurred. And when they are immediately during the funeral prayers too, it occurred. That is based on the information I'm getting.
That's a very sad situation. Umaru Kirawa, please continue to bring us reports on this instance. If you can follow it as it goes, we'd love to continue hearing from you through the course of the show. Thank you very much, Umaru Kirawa. Now let's take a very short break after that very horrific story, and we'll be back with more big stories and reports. We'll be back. And welcome back. At a dizzying 40.53% increase, food inflation in Nigeria is the highest in recent 3 decades, placing immense pressure on ordinary citizens who already spend a large portion of their income on food. With food prices skyrocketing every month, millions of Nigerians face a brutal reality. Food has become a luxury. President Bola Tinubu campaigned on a promise to deliver food security and affordability. However, nearly a year into his administration, the promise remains unfulfilled. The price of rice, Nigeria's most consumed food, soared to 1,340 naira per kilogram in March from 540 naira the previous year. And a loaf of sliced bread now sells at 1,109 naira, depending on where you're buying it from. Maybe not First Step, because that will be 1,500 naira. From last year's 661 naira.
Now, concerns about food insecurity have been mounting for some time in Africa's most populous country, which has been grappling with poverty and widespread insecurity for years. So there's conflicts in certain regions that have also disrupted agricultural activities and displaced farmers, hindering food production and distribution. And so gunmen have also kidnapped hundreds of people in northern Nigeria, exacerbating the crisis. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations projects that over 26 million people are at risk of food insecurity this year. Now, this is a very dire situation that has now driven Nigerians into desperation.
The rising food prices have driven Nigeria's headline inflation to a staggering 33.69% in April, despite the central bank's efforts to combat it through interest rate hikes. Now, experts have long argued that Nigeria should focus on achieving food security rather than obsessing over food self-sufficiency, temporarily suspending import restrictions on key food items and incentivizing state governments to invest in agricultural competitiveness and stabilize prices and enhance food security at the local levels. News Central correspondent Lekan Onabanjo was at the famous Mile 12 market during the course of the week to file this report.
Prices of foodstuff in Nigerian markets have seen astronomical increase in the last 24 months. The recent World Bank report estimated that over 60% of Nigerians live below the national poverty line, meaning they cannot afford to purchase food that can sustain them for longer periods. Food vendors say internal sabotage, insecurity, unfavorable climate condition, and high cost of transportation have spiked the numbers.
Before, it's 8,000, 9,000. But as at now, we are selling 13, 14. It depends on the quality and the quantity and based on the bowl that we are using. The fuel price is added to it. And the second one, so there are some people in this nation that they are doing illegal export trade, which they go to farm directly, they bought it from the farm, the package is inside the container and taking it outside the country.
This one is 33,000 naira last, 2,000 last, 1,000 last, 500 naira last. Bag is 56,000 naira. We are buying it 2,500 before. Buhari come enter 35,000. Turumbu enter 56,000.
Noodles, when I start selling it first, it's 1.8 per carton. But now we are selling it at the rate of 1.8, 1.3. Even when we are selling it 1.7, people complain that it's too expensive. But now, we said before it's 11,000. It's some days that it come down to 7.5. For spaghetti, when we are selling it before, it's 120. But now, it's now 900 naira for 1 pieces. When I'm selling 1 kg of semo, it's 100 naira. The 10 kg is 1.5. Now, 10 kg is 14,000. The money you will use to buy 10 bags, you used to buy only 1 bag.
Major staples like rice, beans, curry, then onions, noodles, pasta, and yam alternative potato are particularly impacted, with prices rising by over 300%.
Pint of this long gun we are selling it 7,000, and the short one we are selling it 6,008. And those Nigerians we are selling, both of them we are selling it 6,008. They used to close border and then they used to open it. If they open border, the rice will come down.
Before I used to sell paint 800 naira, but now it's 3,500 for each paint.
Before I cook soup my husband go give me 2,500. I cook soup for 1 week. But now 10,000 naira no go anywhere. Make them go open border for us. So. Now we our prayer. If they open border, things go normalize.
It's not all doom and gloom for some perishable goods like pepper and tomatoes, as sellers say prices are gradually declining and that might continue with increased rainfall.
200,000 tele insu na kaga 110 150 lonta ta shins rodo tanta 120 insu na 60,000 120 kwakwa rodo kanta na matana ni ko ala to mamba to joro kwakwa gogo oja tibale na kwakwa ko ti wale mo oku die loko na oja mo wale dadana
so I raise 14,000 before they say 22, 23, now they say 45, 40,000 in the seller.
This is where a lot of Nigerians come to purchase their foodstuff, hoping that the price will be better compared to other places in around their areas, and it's a clarion call to the government to do more so that Nigerians can actually heave a sigh of relief. Lagos, Nigeria, for News Central, Lekan Onabanjo.
So joining us today to have a deep discussion on this matter and just pretty much look at it from all sides is the correspondent live that you saw just now, Lekan Onabanjo. He is our business desk correspondent, and he's going to give us more on the insights when it comes to all of this triad issues as an affecting food security in Nigeria. Lekan, hi.
Judith,
welcome,
good morning.
First time on Breakfast Extra. I hope you like it.
Of course, beautiful.
Lovely. You also tried your hand at some trading, or maybe not, at Mile 12 Market. First off, what was the first thing that you noticed upon getting to the market and talking to the people, the traders? What was their disposition like about the new system?
Okay, so let me start with the customers, or the buyers, as it were. A lot of them were a bit indifferent in the sense that they feel no matter how the price goes up, they would have to find the money to buy. But you will notice that there are no smiles on their faces. It's more or less like, it's what I have to do to survive. So how I'm going to get the money is a big problem. How much I'll have to spend to get certain merchandise or consumables in the market is another problem. Do I have enough money to buy? What would I be getting at the end of the day? Before, you could go to the market and you can, permit me to use the word, do shakara when you want to, converse with any of the sellers and you feel like, okay, I'm not buying this, I can go to another seller. But now it is going to be with a lot of abeg. Because even the sellers will be like, if you don't have the amount to purchase this particular consumable, then you can as well go away with your money. So a lot of people are not actually smiling. So on the part of the sellers, well, a few of them are actually, optimistic, hoping that prices will stabilize. But the most important thing is that they are trying as much as possible to sell whatever they can sell. There was even a point I was trying to talk to one of the sellers. I was like, please don't disturb me. I'm here to sell. Because, of course, if it doesn't sell at that particular point, it probably might just, lose its profit or revenue for the day. So it's kind of a mixed feeling on both sides. But it's more or less like the sellers and the buyers trying to survive, those who are trying to make their money however they can make it, and those who are trying to purchase whatever they can purchase with whatever amount that they have.
The food issues that we have is caused by the triad, which you put there in your report, and I'd like for you to speak on that, which is climate, insecurity, as well as just the economy that we find ourselves, the inflation. So,
okay, so let me start with the climate issue. Of course, something that, transverses different countries and different continents. We've had a lot of rainfalls in a while now, and of course we can't actually control nature because it has to happen. But in some other climes or in some other climates, we have issues of droughts where we have insufficient rainfall. So when that happens, it is hard to actually have yields, produces in the markets. So definitely you wouldn't have as much as you would need to either transport or to consume. And if there's more rain, it's going to actually destroy the farmlands. So that is one issue. So if we can have, a bit of balance in both, then of course the farmers can go to the farm, harvest whatever it is they can harvest, and transport it for sales. Then when you talk about the issue which is actually poignant is the issue around insecurity. Because, I spoke with a couple of the sellers, and they said that farmers are being killed on a daily. Of course, no news, because it's what we know. But the fact that there is no reprieve, we don't have a security architecture protecting these farmers, they go to the farm scared because they don't even know if they're going to get back home. They don't even know if their farms have been destroyed by cows. They don't even know if they'll be able to harvest. They don't even have protection. They don't have guns. They don't have machetes. They don't have anything. They're just going to the farm, telling their families, I'm going to the farm. I want to go and see if there's anything that I can just pull out and get back home as soon as I can. And, it's more or less like you're just living your life on a daily because you don't even know what you're going to meet there. So you get to the farm, and at the end of the day, okay, you're able to pick whatever you're able to pick. And when you see, those herders, or those bandits doing their thing, the fear comes to you. Should I accost them? Should I approach them? Should I tell them to stop? If you do that, if you confront them, you get killed. Nothing happens, and that is the end. You're buried. So farmers are actually scared, and that is where the problem is, because when we have farmers who can't go to the farm to access their produce or to actually harvest their crops, what do they take back? How do they sell? How do they transport, those things to the markets? How do they bring them to the southwest or to the other areas whereby they can sell? So that is a big issue, and it's one area that the government will have to look into. Then one other thing that they mentioned that has to do with border closure. They said that the borders have been shut. I mean, not that during the Buhari administration, there was this, story rolling out that the president has opened up the borders. And I think during this current administration that the borders have been open and people can now, bring in their produce and sell. But they categorically said that they have money to buy, but they cannot buy because the borders have been shut. And when you have, a hike in demand, and the supply is less, then definitely whatever it is that you have in the market, the prices will go up. Yeah. So it's more or less like whoever is more or less like the highest bidder.
What kind of transactions or trade goes on between Nigeria and these countries that we're bordering? What exactly are we buying, or are the farmers or purchasers buying from these countries or trying to sell?
So basically it's rice, foreign rice, staples, noodles. Those are the basics. Probably when you talk about food crops, maybe pepper, tomatoes, potatoes, Nigeria can actually produce that. But then when you talk about rice, beans, gari, the fact that we even import gari, despite the fact that we have an abundance of that in country,
that's weird.
That one actually beats me. But those are the majors that we actually, get from other countries. And even as much as we try to compare the price, because of the issue around transport costs, the hike in diesels, and these are people that actually transport these goods from other countries or from other states down to Nigeria, pay duties along the way. So by the time you add all that cost together, it spikes the price by the time it gets to the market.
And you and I have to pay for it at the end of the day, which is very, it's a sad situation. It's a myriad of influences causing the food insecurity or food price hike. And it's very unfortunate. But Lekan, thank you very much. You were very passionate about that report, and we can still see that here. Please carry it on. Bring us more. We'd like to have you back here on Breakfast Xtra.
Definitely.
I mean, as a family guy, it's feeding the family, so it was definitely something everyone's passionate again. Many thanks again for your insight.
All right, now, so we're going to go on to our next story. Just a short break, and when we get back, we're going into our next report. Actually, we'll be back in just a bit.
And welcome back. It's time for another big story, and this time we turn our attention to the ongoing legal saga involving former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, seeking to arraign Bello on 19 counts of alleged money laundering, breach of trust, and misappropriation of funds totaling 80.2 billion naira. Now, despite multiple court dates, Bello has consistently failed to appear, leading to heightened tensions and dramatic exchanges between the EFCC and Bello's defense team. Now, this case not only puts the former governor under scrutiny, but also raises significant questions about the administration of justice in Nigeria.
Now, during the latest court session, the EFCC's counsel, Kemi Pinheiro, urged the courts to compel the defense to explain Bello's continued absence and to discipline the senior lawyers representing him for allegedly breaching professional conduct. Pinheiro argued that the defense action were dilatory and disrespectful to the court, likening the situation to Animal Farm if such conduct goes unpunished. Now, on the other hand, Bello's defense, led by Adedikwe, countered these claims by stating that they had not been able to ascertain Bello's whereabouts and criticized the EFCC for failing to execute an arrest warrant. The defense also sought to withdraw from the case, a request which the EFCC lawyer dismissed as a tactical afterthought. News Central correspondent was on ground, and also we spoke to him earlier in the week, but he joins us today. Umaru Kirara will be with us, and we'll be talking to him about the instance that happened in church, in court. We're also going to be joined by another guest this morning, and that would be none other than, we're hoping that Femi Fanwo will join us, but Mr. Samson Ojodomo Onuche, Managing Partner, Crest and Cradle Attorneys, is also joining us via video chat. Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Good morning. Thank you for having us at the program.
Now, Marvellous, you and I spoke during the week while you were at court. Please, can you give us a dynamic of exactly what happened at court with Yahaya Bello's absence and his prosecution and defense?
Well, the little drama that unfolded in court on Thursday is one too many cases of the dramas that happen in court where you see two legal counsels argue the law from both the eyes of the law and from the nose of the law. But that on Thursday, as regards to Yahaya Bello's case, is profound. Profound, I mean that, first of all, that Thursday was the 5th consecutive time the former governor of Kogi State failed to make an appearance in court to take his plea, either guilty or not guilty, as charged by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So, of course, before now, the counsel to the former governor, Adeola Adedube's son, had promised the court that he was going to do all that he can to ensure that his client makes an appearance in court. And then the court and the prosecution team took his words for it. So both the prosecution team, the court, and the journalists were expecting that the former governor would make an appearance on Thursday. But sadly, that did not happen. And that was what ruffled the feather of the prosecution team, who now, was visibly angry. He expressed his displeasure that the former governor, this is the 5th time he has failed to make an appearance in court. And then he gave, in fact, there were 2 applications raised by those legal counsels, both Kemi Pinheiro, who is the counsel for EFCC, and Adeola Adedube, who is the counsel for the former governor of Kogi State. Now, the application from the prosecution team, which is the EFCC, he said that because that the senior advocate, who is a judicial officer, gave his words to the court that he's going to provide his client in court that Thursday, and he failed to do so, that the court should, invoke disciplinary measures against him by docking him so that he can give reasons why he did not, produce the former governor despite promising the court. And now, while that one was going on, the legal counsel to Yahaya Bello also stood up and gave a counter application that since it is like this, that he wants to apply so that the court, he wants to apply an order of the court to step down his appearance for the former governor. Now, he is saying that the counsel to EFCC is trying to demean his person in front of the court, that he's saying that he made a promise and failed to honor that promise. And him, in his own counter argument, he said he didn't promise the court that he was going to produce the former governor. All he said is that the court should give him time or should give him the opportunity to try to consult with the elders And, that term, elders, was not made clear enough. We don't know whether he's talking about the elders in Kogi State or the elders in my village. I don't know. But he said that they should give him time to consult the elders so that they can persuade the former governor to be in court. And then the counsel to EFCC said, how do you mean? Is your client more bigger than you that you cannot persuade your client to be in court? And so therefore, the trial judge, Justice Emeka Nwite, after listening to the arguments, now scheduled adjourned to the 17th of July.
All right,
now
Marvellous,
ruling on those applications.
I'm going to crave your indulgence as well as Mr. Samson, if you would please. Do give us a bit of a time because we have to go for the headlines now. But when we get back, we're still going to be talking about this instance from court from Thursday with you gentlemen. So do stay tuned and permit us to go for the headlines.
Welcome to the news on Breakfast Extra. I'm Kofi Bartels. Let's begin by telling you that the death toll from the bomb explosions at two different locations in Goza Town, Borno State, has risen to 18. According to a survivor, the first bomber was carrying a baby on the back when she stormed the venue and detonated the IED. The wedding was held on Saturday at Tashan Mararaba near the fire service in the Goza Town. A military source says Goza says a female suicide bomber crossed the road opposite the military base and immediately detonated the IED, killing a soldier. In the process, the terrorists reinforced and returned to the 192 Brigade, but the Nigerian army troops successfully repelled the attack. The bomber, identified as a young mother in her 20s, pretended to be a guest at the wedding. And while trying to bury the dead person's another bomber, disguised as a mourner, detonated an IED at the burial ground, killing one person. The injured are receiving treatment at the General Hospital in Goza. The military has, as a result of the explosions, declared a curfew in Goza with immediate effect. Minister of Police Affairs Senator Ibrahim Gaidam is intervening in the ongoing face-off between the Police Service Commission and the Nigeria Police Force. After concluding the recruitment, the Police Service Commission on June 4 released a list of 10,000 successful applicants for constable and specialist cadre roles in the Nigeria Police Force. 11 days later, the police rejected the list over the allegation that the exercise was marred by corruption and irregularity. Well, following the action of the police, the Commission's union called for the removal of the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, for allegedly misrepresenting the facts on the recruitment. International peace-building organization Search for Common Ground has inaugurated the River State Peace Architecture, expected to help address and end conflicts emanating from communities in the state. Representatives of the organization, while inaugurating the peace architecture, say the platform will provide an opportunity for stakeholders in the state to deliberate on ways to help end violence and criminality.
This platform is a state platform to address conflicts emanating from the communities. It's a state platform where actors, relevant actors, issues of peace and security come together, are expected to come together every month to look at the conflicts that arise from the communities and also find a sustainable solution to them. This project wants peace in River State. The project is being sponsored by EU as a community-centered approach to transforming violence and criminality. I want to transform violence and criminality in River State into a peaceful place for people to come, work, and invest.
Away from that, Nigeria's Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has launched a strategic action plan to effectively tackle corruption amongst the government's ministries, departments, and agencies. This was during a workshop for management and staff of the commission, which held in Abuja and focused on effective monitoring and evaluation, especially as it helps deliver on their mandate, which is ridding the nation of graft. With more, here's Marvellous Obomanu.
The 4-year strategic action plan of the Independent and Corrupt Practices and Other Offences Commission is expected to commence from 2024 and terminate in 2028. The plan embodies all the activities of the Commission as it relates to tackling corruption and tracking financial leakages.
For ICPC to be able to work to its stated targets and objectives and goals, it has to have those clearly marked out. And in the course of the 4 years, the Commission has outlined all it will be doing, the time it will take to do some of those things, the resources it requires to do them, and our stakeholders that will help us to achieve those objectives are all laid out in the plan. Implementation of any plan comes with its own challenges. One of such could be inadequate funding to cover all you have outlined to achieve. Another one could be the problem of data. People are naturally resistant to give out information.
This is about monitoring our activities, investigation, prosecution, public enlightenment, system study and review, monitoring our activities so that we are able to deliver what we promised in that strategic action plan the way we have promised it.
The plan was crafted in partnership with the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Phase 2 program, which seeks to ensure transparency and accountability, even in anti-corruption agencies. Despite widespread support, ROLAC says that the fight against corruption must continue with active participation of anti-corruption agencies, with citizens taking the lead.
The fight against corruption is not like a fuel tank. Even a fuel tank, even if you fill it, it gets empty at some point. So it's a continuous thing. You can't fight corruption to a point where you say, oh, we fought corruption and there is no longer corruption, because generations come and generations too have to be educated. It's not just about capacity, you are right. There are other elements, including education, including awareness. You know, it's possible that all of this accumulate and, you know, aggregate to, you know, the general.
As senior staff of the ICPC undergo this capacity building training exercise, the Commission hopes it will give its personnel a better grasp of expectations required of them from citizens. In Abuja for News Central, Marvellous Obomanu.
Thank you, Marvellous. The Katsina State government says that several milestones have been achieved in its quest to achieve targets set by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This was made known by officials of the state government as the state hosted its first subnational convergence on sustainable development goals in the nation's capital, Abuja, with an aim to review the progress made so far and setting benchmarks for future efforts. We have Amadi Nui with more on that report.
In attendance were senior officials from the Katsina State government, including development partners. State representatives highlighted efforts being made by the current government to achieving key milestones of the Sustainable Development Goals.
This is the first event of its kind in the whole country at a subnational level. And if anything, this shows our commitment in Katsina State to advance the SDGs.
In 2019, the annual school census of Nigeria suggested that Katsina, among other 7 states, had low transition of primary to junior and from junior to secondary schools. Katsina State recorded 47% decline of transition of children from primary 6 to JS1. It was reported in 2019 that 18% of deaths as a result of banditry-related issues were actually not the killing themselves, but lack of capacity by school communities to secure themselves in the event of the attack. Some people go towards the attack areas because they lack capacity.
While officials say much has been invested on education, ICT, health and security, gender inclusion and climate mitigation efforts, the governor says that efforts must be made to restore confidence back to citizens.
Currently, under his leadership, At the first instance, 188 secondary schools received 23 million each as a large grant to renovate, to provide toilets, to provide water points, and to address school-related issues like furniture.
We need to make people believe that leadership is about trust. Leadership is about justice, equity, all other things. We have reached certain age now. There is nothing we will do what we have not done before. At this age, we have very little time to spend in this world.
He says that leadership must be accountable and responsible.
If you become a governor or a president or whatever without making any meaningful impact to the people, what is the point of being there? I think we should move away from looking at it at the office and the benefit attached to the office, but you should look at the service that you are supposed to give and also about what the people will benefit out of your leadership. The benchmark is to have better people, better society, better Katsina State before the end of our time.
The subnational convergence on sustainable development goals was also an opportunity to review milestones achieved and set goals that will enable the state achieve its targets. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Thank you, Amadine. And that's all on the headlines this morning, right here on News Central Television. It's back to Masino and Judith.
Thank you very much. Kofi Bartels there for you with the news. Now it's back to our topic. Now we've been talking about the absence of Yahaya Bello to, well, appear in court once again as he was put on, he is being put on trial for alleged misappropriation and money laundering as well. We've had with us Marvellous Obomanu and, of course, Mr. Samson Ojemade. I'm going to let Judith continue with the questioning and with you, Mr. Ojemade.
Again, many thanks, gentlemen, for staying with us. Now, giving the defense asking to, or the lawyer who's representing the ex-governor, Yahaya Bello, refusing or saying that he would not be representing or being on this case anymore, what does this say for the legal process now? If the head of legal or defense or the defense team is saying, I am stepping away from this case, what does it mean for the entire process of the legal process against Yahaya Bello?
It signifies, as a counsel in the matter representing the defendants, the ex-governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, you actually have the right to withdraw your legal representation at any point in time that you feel that you cannot continue the representation of a defendant in a criminal matter. But when the counsel chooses to withdraw, it is something that is his right to withdraw, and the court will definitely allow him to withdraw. And I don't see it as something that will store a criminal matter, because if a counsel decides to withdraw his appearances for the defendants, it behoves on the defendants to look for another counsel that will take up his defense. So I do not see that as a procedure that will store what has been going on, because it is actually not the duty of the defense counsel to produce the suspect before the court. It's the duty of the prosecution, which is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, to produce the ex-governor, the suspects that they are bringing to court, and it behoves on them to produce that suspect to court, and it doesn't stop the proceedings from going on.
Now, with that being said, there was also a motion for the defense. The defense was requesting to transfer the case to Kogi State. Now, do you believe that this move is justified, and how might it even affect the legal proceedings and public trust in the judicial system?
The defendant has a right to request that the matter be transferred to the jurisdiction of Kogi State, based on the fact that the major part of this offense, which is embezzling of the state fund, which is Kogi State, happened in Kogi State, and the fund actually belongs to Kogi State, and the court in Kogi State has jurisdiction to try this matter. But when you look at the status of the Federal High Court in Nigeria, the Federal High Court has a status that is one and the same. So even if you have a Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, it's the same thing with the Federal High Court that is sitting in Kogi. However, for the purpose of convenience in getting witnesses and in also getting other things that will assist the court, it is also right for the defendant to ask that the matter be taken to the Federal High Court in Kogi State. So I do not see any issue in that, just that it's wrong for a defendant who has never appeared in court to be making such requests before the court, because you are supposed to appear before the court from the very first day that the case is brought before the court, before you can begin to make such application before the court.
Now, Senior Advocate Adedipe it was suggested that he be docked. I want to take this back to the drama that happened in court on Thursday. And of course, Marvellous, you were there. I'm going to tie this into a question with you, Mr. Ojomade, in just a bit. But Marvellous, if you could give us an idea of what happened inside of court when he was suggested to be docked. This is because he had previously, in previous proceedings, what's the word I'm looking for now? He insisted that on the next occasion, he was definitely going to make sure that Yahaya Bello was present. Was that right? Am I correct, Marvellous?
All right. Okay. Yes, you're very correct. And in fact, it was, there were two that are representing Yahaya Bello, him and then Abdul Wahab Muhammad SAN. So in fact, the call to be docked is for the two sons, actually. But now, what you understand is that in situations where there is a conflict between a lawyer's duty to their client and duty to the court, their duty to the court must prevail. They must be diligent in the observance of undertakings, not to mislead the court. And now, on the 13th of June, he had promised the court that he was going to produce this former governor to be arraigned to take his plea. And that he was going to consult with the elders.
Okay,
to,
now you mentioned that.
Intervene.
Now, based on that, Mr. Ojomade, was there any right for prosecution to then insist or suggest that he be docked based on the fact that he had promised to produce Yahaya Bello?
Personally, I feel that if the counsel promised to produce a suspect before the court and the counsel failed to do such acts that he has actually spoken before the court, it affects the integrity of the counsel who has made such promises. But however, legally, that counsel is not the surety for the defendant. And it is not his duty to produce the suspect before the court. It's the duty of the prosecution to produce the suspect before the court. But just that if that particular promise or representation is made before the court and the prosecution usually will go ahead and act based on the promise that the counsel has made to the court. So I do not feel that that is a reason for the court to dock a counsel for not producing a defendant before the court, because it is not his duty to produce the defendant.
Is there currently a warrant for arrest of Yahaya Bello? Is there currently a warrant for arrest for Yahaya Bello at the moment?
There should be a for arrest, because he is a person that has been. And before you are declared wanted, there should be a warrant for arrest. And I believe the commission has the power to, and also the machinery to effect the arrest on the ex-governor.
Well, I want to come to you, Marvellous, for this next question, right? And it's simply about, you were in the courts, right? And you've heard both sides, the EFCC and the defense team, the counsel. What was a compelling argument that the defense had when it comes to the ex-governor? And what was the judge's response to that argument?
Well, before I answer that question, let me respond a little bit to the last question that was being asked to the guest. Yes, there is a subsisting court order to arrest Yahaya Bello. And in fact, the argument presented by Bello's counsel was that since the EFCC counsel is calling for him to be docked because of his inability to produce Yahaya Bello, then he's not asking the question between him and the legal counsel to EFCC, who is in disobedience, because there is a subsisting court order to get Yahaya Bello arrested. So if they have not, carried out that court order, why are they trying to, apportion or push the blame on him? Now, back to your question. I mean, this is a criminal case as it is, and before anything will go ahead, Yahaya Bello needs to make an appearance in court to take his plea, either guilty or not guilty, to give room for the trial to commence properly. But from on Thursday, some of the argument brought forward by the Council of EFCC is that they need to produce Yahaya Bello in court. And in fact, before the trial judge, Justice Lekan Onabanjo, adjourned that case to on the 17th of July, he ruled that both the two legal representatives of Yahaya Bello and Yahaya Bello must be present in court before he rules on those two applications. Now, calling for the docking of Yahaya Bello's counsel, of course, this is not the first time legal counsels have been docked. You could recall the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, was once docked by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. So we are still, looking forward to 17 to know what the trial judge, Justice Lekan Onabanjo, will do on those two applications.
And as per the EFCC, were there any compelling argument on their own part?
The argument is still on the fact that Yahaya Bello needs to be present in court to take his plea before the trial commences. Nothing will happen until he takes his plea, either guilty or not guilty, to pave way for the trial to commence. So he needs to make an appearance, he needs to come to court, so that the trial, he either take guilty or not guilty, so that the trial will commence. Of course, they already the charge sheet is there, what the EFCC are alleging on him is there, so it's just for him to come and take his plea.
It makes me wonder, Samson, with the disappearance or the absence of Yahaya Bello and this case in general, what it would mean and the implications it would mean in the legal system when there will be subsequent cases like this. Will there be some sort of redress or, talk to me, you are in the legal arm of things. How will this impact future cases like this?
Mr. Ojamade, that would be for you.
We have had a lot of... Yes, we have had a lot of cases where the defendants have tried to avoid court proceedings, and we know that it actually touches on it's a matter that has to do with the disobedience to the court, and is an issue that must be taken seriously. Now, for a defendant, you ought to be in court from the very first day to take your plea. And I think the disobedience to by the state government, by the ex-governor to be in court is an issue that touches on the jurisdiction of the court, because the court cannot go ahead without him being there. So it affects the whole proceedings. And I think it's something that is very bad, because the court cannot make an order and you feel that you are bigger than the court to appear. I think it's something that is very wrong, and it will definitely have an impact on how the common man perceives the order of the court. So it has an impact on the judicial system of Nigeria.
Okay, now, Marvellous, what are we waiting for? What next now, since after Thursday's non-appearance?
We are still waiting till the adjourned date, which is on the 17th of July, for the trial judge, Justice Lekan Onabanjo, to give his ruling on those two applications. And what are those two applications? One is the one filed by the prosecution, which is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, calling for the docking of Yahaya Bello's counsel for his inability to hold sway to his promise of producing Yahaya Bello in court. And then the second one is the one filed by the man himself, the legal counsel to Yahaya Bello, asking for discontinuance of representation of Yahaya Bello. But I think, in a way, let's diffuse this conversation a bit. Let's take it away from Yahaya Bello. Let's take it away from the court a bit. Would you permit me to do that?
Please go ahead. I would like you to.
All right. Now, let's talk about graft as a whole. You knew when EFCC besieged Yahaya Bello's Abuja residence to get him arrested. We knew there are some people within that vicinity. In fact, some people who were hearing that were people from Kogi State actually stalled that arrest. And now, beyond that, we also see that there are still some people from Kogi State who are calling on the EFCC not to prosecute Yahaya Bello. And these are people who do not even understand the fact at hand, this is an embezzlement of 80.2 billion naira, which when you plug back that money into the economy of Kogi State, you're going to see what will happen in that state. Then beyond that, I mean, the culture of graft, you could remember in May 14, 2014, the then head of civil service, Juan Ayo, raised an alarm that dishonesty and graft was taking over the civil service. And then she said that graft, dishonesty is now taking over integrity and meritocracy, and that meritocracy has taken a sudden flight. And she called for the purge of the civil service. And what are we seeing in the fight against graft till now? From 1999 till date, who are these people who had besieged our political space? When Nigeria was moving away from military, rule to democratic rule, civil rule in 1999, what was the national conversation? Did we hold a national conversation to say, hey guys, this is a new system of government that we are going into, we are still alien to it? What would be the political ideologies? What would be the political philosophies that will help us to run through this new, system of government that we are new? We didn't have that conversation. And what happened? Float Psalms and Gem Psalms besieged the political space, and them on their own began to dictate what would be the political philosophy that will guide Nigeria's political system. And what is that philosophy? They introduced the culture of graft, they introduced dishonesty, and all. And that is why up to today, you see that some of the governors who had ruled Nigeria from 1999 to today, some of them had at some point been fingered by anti-graft agencies of one alleged involvement in, financial misconduct or the other.
That is very true,
and then some
Marvellous.
people are saying that, yes, at the end of the day,
true.
the National Assembly becomes their bedroom. Once they are done with their, ruling the state, they come to the National Assembly, which is now a form of like a bedroom for them. So the truth is, at the end of the day, we should ask ourselves, those who are in the political space, what type of an ancestor do you want to become? Is it an ancestor that provided the needed service, the needed infrastructure that affected people's life in your state? Or do you want to become an ancestor that mortgage the destiny of Nigeria, that mortgage the financial future of Nigeria?
Very good questions, Marvellous. Absolutely.
Conscience is the answer. But unfortunately, in this part of the society where we are, conscience seems to be a luxury.
Marvellous.
That's the case.
Marvellous.
Beautiful.
I must say, the argument that you just made is one that is pertinent and very important. And you said something. You said we've now glorified craft and dishonesty, and it's no more about bureaucracy and honesty and fairness and transparency. And you ask a very, very important question: what would we want to see from our ancestors and predecessors? And that's amazing. So thank you so much, right? And this is to say that we were supposed to have a representative from the Kogi State government who was supposed to come on here and speak to that matter. Because you said something, when there was an arrest there were allegations that there were indigents of the state who were holding back, who were stalling that arrest. And so we're supposed to ask him about, what it would mean for the people of Kogi when they see that their ex-governor is on the run and should face, these accusations being leveled against him. But Marvellous Obomanu, thank you so much.
That was marvellous. Thank you very much. However, I won't let you go. There was something that you said, and I'm hoping to get Mr. Ojomade's intake on this one, regarding the defense being asked about the whereabouts of Yahaya Bello and him saying that he'll have to consult with the elders. Now, that in quote, elders, is that, in your opinion, Mr. Ojomade, an inkling of where Yahaya Bello could be or where investigations should start? Who are these elders? Where are they? What did he mean by elders? What do you think the EFCC should do with that information, and even if we're providing it for them? Mr. Ojomade, please.
The mere fact of or mentioning the word elders, I think is a word that is a bit ambiguous, and I wouldn't know who are the elders, and I wouldn't know what the council was referring to, consultation with the elders. So I wouldn't react much to that, but I don't know who are the elders.
Well, okay, thank you very much. Well, I guess that's one more buzzword that we're going to be hearing throughout the entire week as we continue to follow this story, or, well, play this game of where is Waldo. I want to say thank you very much, Marvellous Obomanu, and of course, Samson Ojomade. Thank you very much for joining us for this very interesting discourse here as we still continue to search for Yahaya Bello and wait to see what further from this instance. Thank you, gentlemen.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having me on the program.
And today we turn our attention to the recent fire at Karu Market in Abuja. It's a devastating incident that has left many traders and residents reeling. The fire, which started about 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, was eventually brought under control by combined effort of the Federal Capital Territory Emergency Management Department, as well as the FCT Fire Service, the Federal Fire Service, and Julius Berger Fire Service. Now, despite their swift response, a lack of access to the market area significantly delayed the firefighting efforts, leading to extensive damage and losses worth millions of naira.
The Acting Director General of FEMD, Florence Wenegieme, highlighted the critical need for accessibility or accessible routes in markets and buildings to ensure quick intervention during emergencies. Joining us live right now on site is Emmanuel Bagudu in Karu in Abuja. Emmanuel, good morning. Good to have you here with us.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning from Abuja.
Thank you very much. Now, Emmanuel, first of all, let's ask you a cursory view of what you can see. How much impact did this fire have on the market?
Well, it's a very devastating disaster. So much to lose. People have lost a lot, and you can see this is just recovery time. People are just trying to recover, pick up the pieces of what's left from the disaster. And some are even not giving up. They are trying to rebuild their shops. They are not giving up. They are still seeing some hope, hoping that help will come somewhere to help them recover.
Obviously, we can see that it's a very vast, it's a wide area there that was affected. Have you spoken to any of the victims currently?
Yes, I have a victim here with me. A young man here, who is having a shop, whose shop has been affected. I don't know that you want to hear from him.
Yes, please. We'd like to hear from him how this has affected him, his livelihood, and perhaps maybe even family.
Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, sir. So just tell us, how has this affected you?
In fact, at least it affected all my life. Not only me, it affected almost 95% of the marketers here. As you can see, 95% of the market is being burned down by unknown, although we don't know the cause of the fire. It started around 7, but by the willing of God, 4 to 5% of us have a chance to remove some of our goods, but 80% of the goods have been burned down. And this is the only way we cope. We have family, we are students, we sponsor some people, and this is the only way we believe in. We don't have anywhere to light our head if not here. So by the special grace of God, we are trying to see, even if it is stable, the government will help us and come to our aid and leave us to put a table just for us to get our daily bread. Because we can't go home and sit down. We are like somebody like me now, have about 2 and 3 kids and a wife. And this is where I believe, and this is where I eat. Apart from that, I have so many people who rely on me. In fact, I can say I'm the breadwinner of my family, and this is where I rely on. And today, for the past 2 to 3 days, I don't have 5 naira that will come into my pocket. I only spend what I have. The little that I take from my shop, I just sell it to find something and eat. So if we can't continue like this, sitting here, if we say we will sit like this, I don't think it is the best solution. Because at least we have to find something doing. My own calling is that, please, we are calling on the FCT minister, the senators, the federal government, and everybody to please come to our aid to help us that and see how can we continue our normal business. All we believe is that even if our goods is being burned down, that should not be the problem. Let's have our space. When we have our space back, by the special grace of Allah, by little, we will recover all our loss. That is my call to the government. Please, let them help us and come to our aid. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a plea from a young trader. They're here in Karu Market in Abuja. So they're calling for help for some kind of rehabilitation so that they can be able to recover from the loss.
And so, Emmanuel, from what he's saying there, it begs to ask the question about the government. Have they made any statements or comments on rehabilitating and sort of providing relief or aid to the traders that have been affected by this fire?
Yes, for now it's assessment. A lot of assessment has been taken. We sent a story of the special advisor to the president on humanitarian affairs came in here. She did some assessment. We also saw Ireti Kingibe, the FCT minister, sorry, FCT senator representing FCT, coming in here to do some rehabilitation, to do some research for whether she can make attempts to do some rehabilitation. So for now, it's research, an investigation to look at the extent of the damage, then to know whether the government is ready to do any rehabilitation or reconstruction. Yeah.
And last time we spoke on Thursday, or rather on Friday, when we spoke on the news, it was very grey. We could see the smoke coming out from all of the burnt and charred buildings and goods. And when I asked you as of Friday if we could ascertain the cause of the fire. Can we get that information now? Have you been able to speak to the first responders to understand what caused the fire?
Yes, that has been the investigation we have been doing since the day the fire started. Of course, there are a lot of controversy, allegations coming in. Right by my right is the market that was burnt, and then by my left is the new international modern market. The new modern market was built by the Abuja Municipal Area Council, and is now selling. They call on the people affected by this fire to come and buy new shops. But according to the marketers, according to the traders, in fact, according to the chairman of the Traders Association and the secretary, they told me that they suspect arson. They suspect that someone is responsible for this fire, because they are saying that because they were forced out of this location several times and they refused to come out, and so they believe that even the attitude of the fire service who came in, who were stopped from coming in, who actually stopped people from coming in to put the fire off, explains the fact that someone is responsible for this fire. But that is left for security agencies to find out. That's left for the fire service to investigate and find out who is actually responsible, if at all someone was responsible. But there's a controversy going on right now that about the market spaces, because the controversy is that they are supposed to leave this particular location and occupy the new market, which is built just by my left-hand side. And they are complaining that the shops are very expensive for them, that they have no choice but to come back and build bachas and zincs here and tents here. They can't afford to pay for the new shop, which is located just by my left here. Maybe I can pan the camera to show you the new shops. They're just by my left. Okay. And the traders actually say that it's very expensive for them to rent. So they cannot afford 10 million, 20 million, 500,000 per rent in a year. That they cannot afford it. In fact, people are buying and selling the shops and extorting them, so they are not interested in going to the new market. So what they are interested in is to be allowed this space so that they can continue with their trading. So that's the controversy that is happening right now.
How's that affecting everyday trade and transactions? Are people moving on now into the new ultra-modern market to make their purchases? Is there a shift in where people, I mean, of course, the market is no longer there, but has this significantly affected people trading and transacting?
It has affected people. You asked the question whether there are people in the new modern market.
Yes.
There is no one in the new modern market. Okay. The people affected by this fire are still interested in their spaces in the old market. You can see them. They are actually bringing new wood, new roof to reconstruct by themselves, because they say they are not interested in the new market. So they are going to continue. They say they are going to continue despite the fire incident. They are going to continue occupying this space until the AMAC, the Abuja Municipal Area Council Management, understand the fact that the new shops that were built is not affordable to them. Yeah, so that's what they are actually doing right now.
And it makes a case of, the solutions that the government provide and how tailored or how it can solve actually the problem. Because I don't think if you're creating an ultra-modern market, the question you need to ask yourself is if the traders can afford that ultra-modern market, if they can afford to pay rent. If I'm selling off a shanty, why would I go pay 3 million. What if 3 million is how much profit I make in a year, in an entire year calendar? But again, I would like to ask about casualties. Was there any casualties at all? Was it just loss of fire? Loss of properties, I beg your pardon, and trade.
Okay. While we were reporting the aftermath of the fire yesterday, we discovered a lot of the casualty that was recorded was 2 women. 2 women came in and discovered that their shops were burnt, and they were shocked. 2 of them collapsed. 1 was rushed to the nearby Yahaya General Hospital. We later find out that she died. We didn't confirm that, but we are told that she passed away. That's the only casualty that I think was recorded in the incident. Most of the casualties that we have, people are actually affected emotionally, psychologically. That's the only casualty that's been recorded.
And has there been any reaction? I know you touched on this earlier, but any reaction from even the local government's chairman to the minister himself in Abuja there? Has any reaction come out of anybody in authority regarding this fire?
Yes, there are several reactions. The first person to react was the president, President Bola Tinubu, and then of course we saw his special advisor, Mrs. Delu Yakubu, his special advisor on humanitarian affairs. She came in here, she spent about an hour, day before yesterday. And then, of course, we saw Ireti Kingsley, who actually took a lot of reports from the executive, from the management of the market. One of the reports that she wrote was the fact that there are no access routes, but the fact that the controversy I mentioned to you, which they say that the new shops, the new ultramodern markets are very expensive, and then that they have to remain here. They want to remain here because the shops that are new are not affordable to them. So those are the reports that Ireti Kingsley wrote, and she's going to take it up to the Senate. And then, of course, the office of the minister, there was a statement which consoling those affected. And, of course, the local government chairman, the Abuja Municipal Area Council chairman, he was the first to arrive at the scene. And, of course, he also took up all the details and then promised to get back to the traders that are affected.
Emmanuel, many thanks for doing this with us, and thank you so much for just being on top of this news as it continues to break. We appreciate you for coming on. Emmanuel Bagudu there, our News Center's correspondent, live in Abuja at the Karu market, giving us update on the fire, the market fire that happened, broke 6:30 p.m. Thursday evening. Emmanuel, many thanks again.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to go on a short break, but you are still watching Breakfast Extra on the News Central TV. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, it's going to be sports. Stay with us. Hey, Malgal.
The world of sports, good morning to you and welcome to Sports Update on Breakfast Extra and Favor Itua. We'll begin with stories from the world of football, where, of course, the Lekan Onabanjo Warriors were crowned champions of the 2024 President Federation Cup after they outclassed Abia Warriors in a one-sided final at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena, securing their 3rd national title. Nasiru Saliu was the hero of the Maiduguri side, scoring in each half to ensure his team qualified for the CAF Confederations Cup next season alongside Eyimba, who finished 3rd in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Meanwhile, in the Women's Federation Cup final, Rivers Angels of Port Harcourt won their 9th title thanks to a spot kick by Blessing Okwe just before halftime, giving them the edge over Nigeria Rattles. It was the only goal, a well-contested final between Rivers Angels and Nigeria Rattles, who were making their first trip to the final.
It's not easy. It's not all coach that goes through his career that have this kind of day. So it's an opportunity, and I thank God for that. Their resilience and their perseverance as players is something that is pushing us. No matter where we play, whether on the road, whether at home, they keep pushing. They never believe any team can beat them.
All right, that was Aliyu Zubairu, coach of Lekan Onabanjo Warriors, his first title as a coach. And, of course, he will be playing in the Nigeria Premier Football League next season. Interesting to see that he has, done well for himself. Away from football, now to athletics, where American athlete Gabby Thomas has qualified for the 200-meter event at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, as Sha'Carri Richardson narrowly missed out on the Olympic slot. World 200-meter silver medalist Gabby Thomas maintained her superiority in the U.S. women's 200-meter with a dominant win at the U.S. Olympic trials, as she clocked a stunning 21.81 seconds to win the race ahead of Brittany Brown, who who finished second in a personal best time of 21.90 seconds, and Kingsley long sealed the podium in 29.91 seconds. Reigning world 100-meter champion Sha'Carri Richardson fizzled out to finish fourth and will miss out on the women's 200-meter Olympic team. Sad one for Sha'Carri Richardson. She would not be part of the 200-meter event at the Paris Olympics, and it was an upset, especially for people who already know what she was going to bring on to the tracks. But when it comes to the trials, you definitely know that a lot of athletes are looking forward to cause an upset in competitions like this. And now to our next story. Alex Pereira made a second successive defense of his light heavyweight championship after he stopped Jiri Prochazka in the second round of their main event match at the UFC 303 held at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Pereira agreed to step in a late notice for an event which was originally meant to see the return of Conor McGregor. The Brazilian, after a strong round, ended the fight early in the second, landing a devastating head kick before following it up with a flurry of punches that forced referee Herb Dean to jump in and, of course, end the match. The rest of the main card saw Diego Lopez outpoint Dan Ige in the catchweight division, and Robin Dolizé defeated Anthony Smith via unanimous decision in the light heavyweight bout, and Mercy Chiasson stopped Mayra Bueno Silva thanks to a second round doctor's stoppage. Interesting one, of course, in the world of combat sports, and we'd love to see more and more from there. All right, we'll now go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more sports stories for you. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're still watching Sports Update on Breakfast Xtra. And let's now go straight to the Euros, where host Germany beat Denmark 2-0 in a storm-interrupted encounter to reach the quarterfinals of the 2024 edition on Saturday after reigning champions Italy were knocked out of the competition by Switzerland. These two second-half goals from Kai Havertz and Jamal Musiala strike allowed Germany to come out on top in Dortmund, where the last 16 tie was halted for 25 minutes late in the first half as a violent storm passed overhead. Meanwhile, Italy's defense of their title ended in an underwhelming fashion as they lost to Switzerland 2-0 at the Olympiastadion in Berlin. Ruben Vargas teed up Remo Fiorella for Switzerland's 37-minute opener before coiling home superbly himself right at the start of the second half to hand the Swiss an historic win. Congratulations to Switzerland and Germany. I mean, the home favourites are still in the title, are still in gunning for the title, and they'll be looking forward to host and win. I mean, having plethora of stars, from the likes of Kai Havertz, Jamal Musiala, the kid in the block, looking forward to do a lot of things at the moment, and wait to see more of the round of 16 fixtures come up later today and, of course, tomorrow. That's it on Sports Update on Breakfast Xtra. And Favor Itua will go over now to Mazino and Judy standing by.
Favor, but you didn't complete your threat. You threatened me only just moments ago. I would like to see you accomplish that. Go ahead, do it.
Behind the scene, don't worry.
I'll tell them what it is. Favor only just got wind of my elongated name and threatened to use it on air. Threat is not the best word, but I dared him because the truth is it's shortened for your convenience, Favor. So just take Mazino and let's stick to it. Thank you very much, Favor.
Thank you very much.
Favor, many thanks. Now we switch gears now to bring you the news, and we've got Kofi Bartels on standby.
Now time for the news on Breakfast Xtra. I'm Kofi Bartels. Let's begin by telling you that the death toll from the bomb explosions at two different locations in Goza town, Borno State, Nigeria, has risen to 18. According to a survivor, the first bomber was carrying a baby on her back when she stormed the venue and detonated the IED, that's an improvised explosive device. The wedding was held on Saturday at Tashan Mararaba near the fire service in Goza town. A military source in Goza said the female suicide bomber crossed the road opposite the military base and immediately detonated the IED, killing a soldier in the process. The terrorists reinforced and returned to the 192 Brigade, but the Nigerian army successfully repelled the attack. The bomber was identified as a young mother in her 20s, pretending to be a guest at the wedding. Nigeria's Minister of Police Affairs, Senator Ibrahim Gaidam, is intervening in the ongoing face-off between the Police Service Commission and the Nigeria Police Force after concluding the recruitment of personnel into the Nigeria Police Force, the PSC, on June 4. released the list of 10,000 successful applicants for constable and specialist cadre roles in the Nigeria Police Force. Well, 11 days later, the police rejected the list over what it called an allegation that the exercise was marred by corruption and irregularities. The Federal Capital Territory Commissioner for Police, Benneth Igwe, has ordered a clampdown on vehicles plying the roads with single or no plate numbers across Nigeria's capital. He also directed the arrest and prosecution of defaulters. In a statement by the command spokesperson Josephine Ade, the CP, Igwe, warned car dealers against parking their vehicles in unauthorized parking lots and driving beyond the stipulated time. Ade stated that the CPs and defaulters will be made to face the full wrath of the law. She also adds that the cases of one-chance operators in the FCT had been linked to the practice, urging motorists and dealers to desist from such acts. International peace-building organization, the Search for Common Ground, has inaugurated the River State Peace Architecture, expected to help address and end conflicts emanating from communities in the state. Representatives of the organization, while inaugurating the peace architecture, say that the platform will provide an opportunity for stakeholders in the state to deliberate on ways to help end violence and criminality.
This platform is a state platform to address conflicts emanating from the communities. It's a state platform where actors, relevant actors, issues of peace and security come together, are expected to come together every month to look at the conflicts that arise from the communities and also find a sustainable solution to them. This project wants peace in River State. The project is being sponsored by EU as a community-centered approach to transforming violence and criminality. I want to transform violence and criminality in River State into a peaceful place for people to come, work, and invest.
Confirmed that there is no visa ban on Nigerian passport holders, dispelling reports that have raised concern. Reports resurfaced on Thursday suggesting that Ethiopia, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates had revoked certain privileges for Nigerian passport holders, such as visa on arrival, e-visa, and outright passport issues. Specifically, the reports say Turkey no longer allows Nigerian passport holders to obtain its e-visa, which was previously a seamless process. Vote counting is underway in Mauritania following Saturday's presidential election. 9 candidates are running to restore constitutional order following last year's coup. Electoral officials began counting ballot papers immediately after polling stations closed. It is a vote to return constitutional rule after a coup 11 months ago toppled the nation's first freely elected leader. Meanwhile, President Mohammed Ould Sheikh El Ghazouani had earlier expressed his satisfaction with the climate of peace, security, and serenity in which voting operations took place in the country. His comments came after human rights activists and opposition candidate Biramda Abeid denounced fraud.
الوطن نختار نوجه أحر التهاني لجميع المواطنين على سلوكهم وعلى ظروف والجو التنافسي الإيجابي اللي تمت فيه الحملة الانتخابية. نختار كذلك نعبر عن ارتياحي الجو الهدوء والأمن والسكينة اللي تجري فيه عمليات الاقتراع اليوم على كافة التراب الوطني وكذلك تجري في الخارج بالنسبة لجالياتنا المقيمة في الخارج.
And that's all the news right here on Breakfast Extra. Mazino and Judith are standing by. We'll be back with more on the program after this break.
And you're welcome. On Focus Africa, a segment here for Breakfast Extra. Today we look at the alarming rise of kidnap for ransom incidents in South Africa, which has rapidly become one of the world's hotspots for such crimes. Ranked 6th globally, the country reported more than 15,000 kidnappings to the police during the 2022 to 2023 period alone. This surge in kidnappings has created a pervasive climate of fear and insecurity, severely impacting communities across the nation.
And in recent developments, police in the Eastern Cape are investigating a case where 5 family members were abducted and a significant amount of money was stolen from one victim's bank account. Crime experts have highlighted that the rise in armed robberies, including carjacking, business and home robberies, contributes to this troubling trend. And these crimes, often orchestrated by organized crime syndicates, create a conducive environment for kidnappings and further exacerbate the security challenges faced by South Africans.
Now, joining us via video chat to discuss the critical issue is Bianca van Asvenken, criminologist and national coordinator for Missing Children South Africa. And also we have William Els, senior training coordinator, Institute for Security Studies. You're welcome, gentlemen and lady.
Good morning.
Good day, thank you.
Let's get started very quickly, and I'd like to throw the question to both yourself, Bianca, and Williams as well. Can you shed light on the factors driving to the significant increase in kidnap for ransom incidents that we're seeing in South Africa?
Yes, it's definitely an increase in these types of kidnappings that we are seeing. It's very much money driven. It's a low risk, high reward type of crime that we're seeing. And it's easy. We've definitely seen also that COVID and lockdown has an impact on this, where people have lost their job, poverty has stricken us. And that is what motivated these types of crimes to increase in our country.
Okay. Is there any indication as to what class of people are involved in this, or from particular spaces or provinces? Do we have any such information?
If I can come in there, yes. I want to confirm what Bianca said. In the last decade, we saw a spike of 260% in these kidnap for ransoms. We also see that your province that is mostly affected by these incidents is the Gauteng province, followed by KwaZulu-Natal, and then the Eastern Cape. According to the latest statistics, we must just mention that they have not released the statistics for the fourth quarter, that is from January up to March this year. So we are still working with the statistics up to December of 2023. So what we see there is that there is a tremendous spike, a tremendous rise, Gauteng province especially, but also we see that according to Statistics South Africa, around 85% of those victims are women and children.
And so let's talk about, the syndicates that we're seeing, right? How are organized crime syndicates managing to operate so efficiently, all right? Let's start there, and I'm going to start with you, Williams.
Yeah, in the first place, we don't call them organized crime syndicates for nothing. These guys are extremely organized. They are really, they've got the intelligence in place. They operate as a very organized machine whenever they plan and they execute these offenses. That is for your syndicates. And then also what unfortunately we see is that you've got your copycat syndicates because of the lucrative quick money that these people are getting. So when they do operate, they normally, some of these incidences are byproducts of some of the other crimes. We saw that your violent and contact crimes in South Africa last year, we had 190,000 contact crimes. in South Africa alone that were reported, and many of them are not reported. But like, for instance, your people are being hijacked or carjacked, or there's a home invasion, and then they would take these people hostage and extract the money, or they would actually apprehend these people closer to home or closer to their offices where they can follow them, and then they would prey on them.
Bianca, you are the coordinator for Missing Children South Africa. In your experience, especially as this matter has escalated, how many of these people or the victims have come out to be children, and how do these people operate? Do they focus on children, or just go about kidnapping just anybody they could find?
Well, it's very difficult to say, because I think if we work specifically on statistics only give us a general indication of the problem we're facing. Many cases actually go unreported, especially with these ransom kidnappings, as people are too scared to go to the police, they are too scared to report them, the family gets threatened. So yes, we have seen there are a number of children that have been kidnapped for these ransom demands, but the majority of the time it is adults that do get kidnapped for this. But it is very concerning that children have to be involved or actually fall victim to these types of crime. So we do ask parents and the communities and guardians to please be more vigilant, especially when it comes to our children. Change your routine on a daily basis when you drive to school or drive back from work. Make sure you take different routes. Please be very, very careful for social media, posting your children in school uniform in front of a house or in front of a car with a number plate on. So there's safety measures that we need to take in place and put in place to keep our children safe, and especially out of harm's way with these kidnappings that have escalated in our country.
I'd like to ask about, measures. Solutions are very important. This is very serious concerns. 6th place in the world. What are some measures that are currently being put in place to combat the crisis? And Bianca, these methods or strategies are effective in combating the crisis?
Well, if we quickly just have a look also, we've got different types of kidnappings, especially when it comes to our children that happen. We've got opportunistic kidnapping, we've got kidnappings for ransom, we've got human trafficking that is happening. So yes, within our police force, we've got special task teams such as the human trafficking task team and the anti-kidnapping task team that work specifically on these cases. But it's not always just the police that needs to intervene to keep the people safe and to intervene with these cases. We as the whole of South Africa need to stand together. We in our household at home, we need to start implementing safety measures. That's where safety starts, and especially for our children. I mean, we can't emphasize that enough when it comes to the safety of our children. So we need to start at home. That's where safety starts. But we need to start be vigilant. We need to stand together as South Africa to fight against this problem of kidnapping, human trafficking, and children going missing.
When I asked about the crime syndicates earlier, Williams, I wanted to layer in that question by asking about tactics. Children being kidnapped, high network individuals, regular people. What are some of the tactics that this syndicates use in the operations?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And as Bianca mentioned, there are different kinds of kidnapping. What we noticed in the recent events is that we've got the road accident fund where people put in claims, and then they get payouts should that payout be awarded to them. And what we noticed is as soon as that money is in the bank account of these victims, they are being targeted as soon as they left the home or as soon as they left office, because that is where these syndicates wait for them. They know that they are supposed to be there. They follow them, and at the best opportunity, they then stop right next to them. They bump into the vehicle with a little small bump when you get in. When they stop to inspect, then they would grab the people, normally groups of 3 to 4 that are operating. Then they are taking them to a safe house, a safe place where they can then contact the family. They keep them there in custody. They tie them up. Sometimes they torture these people in order to get information of their bank details or their PIN numbers from them. So that is the normal type of syndicates. So that what we also see is, for instance, people go to the ATM and then they would like to withdraw money. These syndicates would put prey on them. They would they would use firearms. They would threaten them, and they would threaten them and they would force them to empty their bank accounts. With children, what we see, especially in the Western Cape, these people prey on little children that are playing in the playgrounds that are not supervised. And we have one case in the Western Cape currently where this little girl has been missing for quite some time. So they've got different modus operandi. They are very opportunistic in what they are doing. And also what we should note is this is not only localized to South Africa. Over the weekend, they apprehended 2 South Africans in Maputo who was attempting to kidnap a Mozambican citizen for ransom. So this is really a regional problem that is facing South Africa.
Well, I want to say thank you very much, William Els, and also Bianca van Asvegen for joining us in shedding light on this issue. We hope that the government actually takes out time and focus to make sure that the greater or broader robbery instance is attended to in South Africa, that this might not be facilitated anymore. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
You're welcome.
And now, coming up, we do Creative Corner here on our Breakfast Extra, but we're going to go on a very short break. When we get back, maybe Judith will tell you about this one. And welcome to our extra special on Breakfast Extra, where today we discuss a very interesting, compelling, and often debated topic of the Igbo Apprenticeship Scheme versus traditional Orthodox school enrollments. The age-old Igbo Apprenticeship Scheme system, renowned for its role in fostering entrepreneurial development, has been a significant part of the socio-economic landscape in the Southeast. However, this tradition comes with its share of challenges. Many young male students are often pushed into apprenticeship by their parents or lured to the promise of better opportunities, leading to a significant number of school dropouts or people who don't enroll in schools. This reality has sparked concerns about the educational and developmental implications for the youth involved.
Now, despite its potential downsides, the Igbo Apprenticeship Scheme has produced numerous success stories, with many young men completing their tutelage and emerging as very successful entrepreneurs. Yet, the system is not without its flaws. Some apprentices face exploitation, even frustration at the hands of their masters, which can lead to negative outcomes, including a lack of formal education. The increasing number of male school dropouts in the region highlights a need to reassess and perhaps reform this traditional scheme to ensure it is just and also beneficial for all partners.
Now, to explore the issue further, we're joined by Chief Chimezie Okoye, business owner and entrepreneur, a proponent of the Igbo Apprenticeship Scheme. Chief Okoye, you are welcome. Good to have you here, sir. So first, if we can get an understanding of how the entrepreneurship scheme works from the traditional standpoint.
Thank you. The system works like when you it's difficult to get people now. You understand? Nobody wants to release their people to you. But most of the thing is, most of them that you see now are dropouts. Their parents can't afford anything for them anymore, so they try to give somebody to train them for them. Going about the years of settlement, and those is between between the parents of the boy and the person. It doesn't have a particular years that this is. You have to stay 5 years, you have to stay 7 years, you have to stay 10 years. It doesn't work that way. It's a discussion between you and them, where you achieve. Then once the person comes and he does very well, then they will settle him very well. But if it doesn't do very well, it cannot last.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. The Nwa boy or the Igbo apprenticeship system was started right after the Civil War, or after the Biafra War, which was to sort of put the younger generation of the Igbo populace back into the system to help them boost them, to get entrepreneurship because of the biases that they faced in the society at the time. Between that time and now, what has changed in that system? That system was much more, people wanted to do it. Now, what has now specifically changed?
The education system is what changed. Because many people will want to go to school. They love to go to school, you understand, than when it was before that. In short, there's nothing like education, it's just training. But now, many people love to go to school. But the problem is the hardship of the economy. They can't be able to train them anymore. So they have switched to one boy system, like the way you called it, that everybody wants to be one boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had a couple of stats while we were reading from before, and what we discovered is that there has been a significant level drop in the number of people who want to go to school, who want to enroll in school.
Yeah.
It's thought that people are suggesting that they instead go ahead with the Igbo apprenticeship system instead of enrolling in school.
Yeah.
I don't know if you differ in this opinion.
Yeah, like I can say I'm one of them.
Explain, please.
You understand? I went to school.
Okay.
I went to Uniben. I studied in abroad. I even taught in abroad. But when I came back with what is happening in the country, I did not say, okay, let me pursue my field in structural engineering. I'm doing business. And if you tell me to go back to engineering, I'll just look at you. Are you okay?
Are the greater number of Igbo youths, Igbo boys, looking toward going to school currently, or are they still fancying the Igbo entrepreneurship system?
I can say it's like 50-50.
50-50?
Yes, 50-50.
Is it a dying trend? Is it dying or...
It's not dying. Like I say, it's 50-50. Those that are willing to go to school might not have the proper fund for it.
Okay.
So those are the ones deviating to one boy system. Why some are just looking at their seniors, this person is doing business, is making fine. What am I going to school for? After all, our forefathers did not go to school. And they all did perfectly well. So some people are looking at it, after all, when I have money, I can be able to go to school.
Okay. So, Chief, there's also this thing where, apart from the very successful stories that we've heard from people who have been through the system and come out the other side as success themselves, there are also other stories of maltreatment by their Igbo masters or their ogas. And how rampant is that situation? And is there any traditional look into the situation?
It's not like that in everywhere. You just say some have their human behavior that is just like that. We all have friends that are just like, you just look at this one, you're just intentionally wicked to somebody. We have plenty boys that have settled in love, and if you want them to do very well, you don't take them like, it's my houseboy. You take them like your younger ones, your siblings. If you come to my establishment now, many people don't know who are my boys and who are my siblings, because they all look at them as one. Why some of them are intentionally wicked? We see that a lot. Like the one you're saying, maltreating. And secondly, it's not like maltreating. Maybe the person under that person is stubborn. He's stubborn. That's why you see the maltreatment in that other side of the person. That particular boy is stubborn, doesn't respect his boss. That's when you see that maltreatment is coming in place.
An agreement and settlement, how do you draw an agreement between an apprentice and the mentor or the master? And then how does a settlement, what's the process like? Walk us through.
The agreement is basically sometimes verbally, sometimes written. How many years that is going to stay with you?
Is it between the boy and the
No,
man
between the
or
parents or the caregiver of the boy and the boss.
The guardian.
Yes. In settlement, there is no particular way of settling. It's just from the heart of the boss. The way he feels like, oh, this person did very well. I have to settle him very well. Some will, there might be mischievous, stealing and all those. So those ones are the ones that you see sometimes the boss will not settle that person very well. Say, you have been stealing from me. That I know you have an account that you have opening and all those kind of things, and they will give you little settlement, which you see yourself start struggling as if you just started from day one again.
How big can these settlements go, and how small could they be? If you were to settle somebody who has been good to you,
yeah,
how big could the settlement
you
be?
establish the person in a way that he can be able to pay his bills coming to him and then get married and all those things. You give the person a shop, you give him goods, you give him money to start. Why someone just write a check for you, fed for yourself and do whatever you want to do?
It makes me wonder about now, right? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that might have been easy. But now, given the economic downturn, is it easy to be able to settle them and, give them houses or give them an open shop?
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends on the business you are doing. If it's yielding you something. The person that is serving you is supposed to know how you are doing. If you are doing well, it's expected of you to do very well to him. But if you are not doing well, the person serving you is seeing it that he brought you for you to uplift and follow him and uplift the business. When he brought you and the business starts going down, you see, he cannot settle you. You are there with him in the business, see that he cannot settle you. But if both of you are building the business very well, his input is really showing. Then if you don't settle him very well, circumstances can come back to you. Even you start seeing some dancer because sometimes, how they say, the spirit works back. If you have a good spirit, good things happen. But if you have a bad spirit, bad things happen. So if the boy do very well, if there's upliftment in the business, he will see that there's upliftment. If you don't settle him well, he might be praying bad for you that after all the suffering we suffered in this thing, I know that my guy has this money. He doesn't want to settle me. You see, that one is bad. But when you are with the person, see the person going down, that person, where will he bring the settlement from? He cannot bring the settlement.
I'm very curious about the structure and relationship between the boss and the apprentice. Especially in cases of maybe reprimanding an apprentice. And I mean, is there a structure, a traditional structure that says, if your boy errs like this, if he does this and this, this is how he would be punished? Just so that there is no overhandedness or underhandedness.
No, there's nothing like that.
So it's based on the discretion of the boss and to how he wants to. But does that not foster a situation where maltreatment could come in? Because a boss could be excessive, perhaps, because bosses themselves could have bad minds, in quotes.
I mean, who checks them? If the bosses, who checks them? Who checks them? If the bosses being high-handed or too hard on the boy.
That's why it's the boss. Nobody checks him. That's why he's the boss. Nobody checked him.
Wow.
The only way is that if you have good friends, those are the ones that can come and meet you and say, this thing you're doing to this boy is not good, though. Try and do it like this. People are complaining, people have eyes and see things also. You understand that you are not doing well. Even if your boy is doing well also, the same people come and say, treat this boy well, he's doing very well for you. So
it's a system that runs on an observatory system where everybody can see how good or how bad you're doing. Chief Chimezie, I can't thank you enough. There is a second layer of understanding that we now have to this system and how profitable it is traditionally to the Igbo society. Is this something you'd advise for all cultures, do you think?
In the business world, I would say, in the business world, there's nothing like advice or any culture at all. Because in my establishment, I don't have only Igbo. I have other people.
That's beautiful.
I have Yoruba.
That's beautiful.
I have Benue. And I have Calabar.
That's beautiful.
You understand?
So it's extending that culture to other
it depends on, like I said, meeting the rightful person. And I forgot to say something. Like now, when you get somebody, it's not a must that you people start discussing outrightly how many years is going to stay with you. So sometimes you tell the person he's coming for a trial. After some months, maybe 6 a year, if they're okay, they will call back to the parents that, okay, I will take this person.
Okay.
How do we go about it? How many years? We start discussing that on the table.
Chief Chimezie, we
I
can't
love
thank
the
you enough.
system. It's a poverty alleviation system that has what's the word I'm looking for? Have improved the lives of many Igbo young men and generations ahead as well. That's our guest today is Chief Chimezie Okoye, and he's been providing us such insightful perspective on the Igbo apprenticeship system and its role in shaping entrepreneurship success when it comes to the Igbo culture. Move away now. We switch gears now to Creative Corner. And this part of the breakfast show, I'm going to just very quickly tell you, right? So the spotlight is going to be on the very vibrant and diverse creative scenes across the country. And in this edition, Mazino takes us on an exciting journey into a cave. It's a laughter cave, an underground comedy club in Ikoyi, Lagos. Now, this unique club, conveyed by the renowned Philip Obi, also known as Big Phil, offers a platform where both upcoming acts and seasoned comedians can test their material and climb the rungs of the comedy hierarchy. So let's take a look at Mazino's interactions and experiences in this comedic haven. I would say underground, but take a look.
And you're welcome. This is Creative Corner, and of course, my name is Mazino Peel. And with us today inside of our Creative Corner segment, it's none other than this very interesting gentleman called Philip Obi, also known as Big Phil. Now, he's the convener for Laughter Cave, one of the best evenings, intimate, funny evenings you'll ever experience if you live in Lagos, or at least are in Lagos on a Tuesday night. Big Phil, you're welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And good for, thank you for, welcoming us into your little, what do you call it now? Forum. Let's call it that. First up, let me ask you, what exactly is the idea behind Laughter Cave?
The idea behind Laughter Cave is really to provide an environment for comedians to work on the material. So when they go into the big stages, they have what we call tight set. Because I was in the US for a while, and one of the things I noticed going to studying that industry was that before Kevin Hart does a special, he has worked on his material in comedy clubs for like 8-9 months. So it's a miracle that a movie is able to give you 1 hour of content without having. Obviously, he has a method that he uses. Probably has a couple of friends that he calls up and does. But that is not the global standard.
So it's a mechanism, a machine for testing out your jokes.
Technically. And people having fun at the same time, because anytime you have a bunch of comedians, you're going to laugh.
Yeah, very true.
Right?
We experienced it downstairs, and we saw some very interesting, maybe not as popular as your regular comedians that you see on TV, like your movies and the rest, and your Basket Mouths or Shady Laws. But these guys are genuinely funny. Why did you think that there was a need to give these guys a platform?
So when I came back from the US to Nigeria, I observed there's a budding industry of what I call it underground comics. So I just figured that I enjoy what I saw in the US. Like, how can I get what I saw in the US in Nigeria? So the comics are there. So what is needed is just some structure and some funding. So what I brought to the game is structure and some funding.
Well, let's talk about stand-up comedy from before 2020. Whatever happened to it? There seems to be a sort of law. Am I correct?
So again, I wasn't living in Nigeria for a while. My brother used to bring me CDs of Night with 1,000 Laughs, and it was hilarious to me. I remember back then I'd be like, who's this guy Two-Face? Why is he messing up my laughter? Like, why is P squared? But that's where comedy was then. Two-Face, they were the side attractions in Night of 1,000 Laughs.
where are our new stand-up comedians? They're here. Quite frankly, they're here. I've seen a couple of them.
Yeah.
But when do I get to see them transfer from what we see this very intimate and beautiful evening to the big stages like what we enjoy with Bovie and basketball
they
and all the
are
rest?
doing it, but it's just the frequency is not enough.
I don't hear any new names.
Yes, which is some of the things that we hope to accomplish as a brand, Laughter Cave, right? So we are pushing comedians, different comedians. If you go to our platform, our IG page, Laughter Cave _, you see different comedians being pushed. And people are getting to know, I talk to different comedians, they'll be like, oh, some people on the street saw me and they knew who I was, right? So we are doing that.
Okay.
And the goal is that at some point, we'll be doing more national stuff, not just having a comedy club. We are starting a monthly show that will be a platform that different comedians can come.
Like what Night of 1,000 Laughs used to be.
Exactly.
Actually,
Something in, yeah,
so
something
to
like
bring it
that.
home, which of the established comedians has supported Laughter Cave?
Oh, I mean, like Bovie was here like a month and a half ago. He was on stage, and he spoke to all the comedians. So Forever has been here. We have Funny Bone. Alibaba says that he's gonna be here soon because we chat. So people understand the need for a good comedy platform, a comedy club, and people need to realize that a comedy club is different from a comedy show. A comedy club is where you work material. Like I said, if you come to a comedy club, you will have a blast because anytime you have a bunch of comedians sitting down, all they do is make people laugh. Like, I hang out with comedians all day and everything you say, they want to make you laugh. There are one or two people that I try to avoid because if you are trying to drink water and they're around, but the point is that a comedy club is a place for everyone, not just the up and coming people. I was once in a comedy club and guess who showed up?
Who's that?
Kevin Hart.
Oh.
Testing material. Right?
For free. You don't have to pay to see him.
Because usually when they test materials, they don't sell tickets. They just want to be able to pop. If you go online, there's a video of Dave Chappelle testing material for like 2 hours. He was literally just talking to the crowd for like 2 hours. That was a comedy club. But that's what a comedy club is supposed to do. But in Nigeria, that culture of a comedy club has not been built properly. Because there are some comedy clubs that you go to now, everybody's having a conversation, people are shouting, and the comedian is supposed to make people that are having a full-blown conversation laugh. That's not what comedy is not music. Like I said, music is a drug. You can be sleeping and get up because of music. It'd be hard for a joke to get you up from sleep.
I get you.
So, I mean, we are trying to play our part in bringing more stand-up comedians to the forefront. So far, we started in November. We've had good progress. Like on Tuesdays, place is packed. There's comedians. We have an audience. And I think we are doing a good job of pushing stand-up comedy out there. Because I think over time, as you mentioned, Night of 1,000 Laughs, now demand for actual comedy is not high. But I think with some of the things that we are doing and other people are doing, we are building it back up. As I mentioned earlier, the pandemic did a number on stand-up.
But was it just a pandemic? Do you think the comedy became more expensive? Did it become more expensive because you could go to Night of 1,000 Laughs before for 1,000 naira. Now you see tickets at 1 million naira per table. So did it become less attainable for people?
Oh Lord, you are pushing me into some.
I'm a journalist.
Into some uncomfortable.
So did comedy become too expensive for the common man? And that's not saying that because what you do here is amazing. It's free.
Yeah, but again, I wouldn't say that it became too expensive for the common man. But I think maybe a focus of comedy became. Comedians got on stage and we are not focused on making people laugh. A comedian will get on stage and he spends 10 minutes soliciting for money. Right? So I think there was a dip in focus on comedy. Like as a comedian, when you climb on stage, your goal should be to make people laugh. But in some of the shows, you see that the comedian That's not his goal. His goal is to, and to no fault, I'm not blaming, I'm just saying all these are things that affected the art form, right? You know, so, but I think things are improving now. We are seeing more stand-up comedians in Nigeria do 1 hour specials. That was not the case. I think Bovi was maybe the first person that did Man on Fire. And I think that act has been very positive for stand-up comedy. So it's always good when the OGs, which are like the lights and what's the right phrase? The beacons, you know, that they are able to establish those good practices, because that wasn't the case previously. I think a comedian would have a show and he doesn't do 20 minutes of material, of new material. So his show was just, so if you go to a Kevin Hart show, it's Kevin Hart special. Kevin Hart is giving you 1 hour of new material. He's not doing anything I did in the previous 1 hour, previous special. But I think we are moving in that right direction where comedians are seeing value in having a body of work.
So do you think the stand-up comedy gave birth to the Nigerian crop of skit makers that we have now? Because I say that, I say that to say this really. Pandemic hit, we couldn't go out, we had to resort to our devices, and that was where everybody converged, and comedians use this opportunity to make digest material that were funny. So do you think that the stand-up industry gave birth to the skit makers, or do you think that the skit makers can themselves be stand-up comedians?
Oh no, those are two genres of comedy.
Totally different.
Totally different. In some instances they merge, but because you're a skit maker does not make you a stand-up comedian. And also because you're a stand-up comedian doesn't mean that you can do funny skits. Because one, skit is very heavy on acting, right? And storylines. Why stand-up comedy is spontaneity. Your ability to look at an audience and make them laugh now. If a stand-up comedian gets on stage and cannot get laughter in like 1 minute, his mind is running laps. But a skit maker might get on stage and play around, and the expectation from the crowd is not laughter. They're like, oh, that's Sabinus. But if Bovi gets on stage for 1 minute and he hasn't made you laugh, people are like, oh, what's going on? Bovi, you've lost it.
Do you think the different genres of stand-up comedy in themselves? Like, I can see a clear difference between what Akuro used to do from what Bovi used to do. Bovi was pure intellect. Akuro was more observatory.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, the stand-up comedy on its own there's a wide range of what makes people laugh. There is deadpan, there is the more expressive, like what Akuro does. You know, there are comedians that do dark humor. There are so many ways at which you can make people laugh. And that's why you have somebody be like, that guy's not funny to me. To you, he's not funny. But that guy has a huge audience.
And that brings me to this question. Which of these subgenres inside of stand-up comedy is the best exportable? What I'm asking is there a Nigerian, well, they are, we've seen samples, Nigerian acts that has succeeded outside of Nigeria, outside of Africa, like Trevor Noah did outside of South Africa. Where is our Nigerian Trevor Noah?
You know, honestly, I still struggle on why, with the level of talent, OG talent we have, the Bovies, the Baskets, why Basket is doing a lot of stuff internationally, Bowie also. But I think to your point, around the level of success that a Trevor Noah has, I don't know why that hasn't happened in Nigeria. I don't have any hypothesis for that's not the case. But to your question around what is the preferred mode of stand-up comedy, there's none. It's your ability to make people laugh. And different people have different skill sets to do that. Some people tell stories. Some people do one-liners. They do one-liners for 30 minutes. Like, there are a whole bunch of old and new comics that do that. So there's no preferred. It's just the ability to make people laugh.
Okay, so we've had a good session. I want to ask you now, what is the dream for Laughter Cave? It's only a couple of months, not up to a year old now. But a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, what are we looking at?
The dream for Laughter Cave is for us to be a platform that pushes stand-up comedy, Nigerian stand-up comedy to the world. The same way you have Afro beats, where everybody, I won't say everybody, where Nigerian artists, the world knows Burna Boy, is the same thing why I want to be a part of that story of why we know Chester or Ogene, right? I want to be a part of that journey because I can imagine what's Kabasa, the guy that was a part of, how he feels as an individual for helping to push Afrobeats to that next level. So I want to be a part of that story of pushing Nigerian stand-up comedy to the world.
Well, we're looking forward because we've enjoyed our evening here. The food was good, the drinks were good, the comedy was the best.
Yes.
And it's very intimate and people come in here ready to laugh. It's not like as if it's a good one and we've enjoyed it. So I want to say thank you very much for the good work that you've done putting together such an intimate, beautiful, funny evening, and we hope that it continues on. And we're looking for the best as well.
Yes,
thank you for welcoming us into your little forum as well. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having me, and please follow us on _IG.
Indeed. And it's back to the show on Breakfast Extra. Thank you very much for staying tuned, and we've got more coming your way.
And by more, I think he means the end. And that brings us to the very end of the show for today. It's been quite the weekend, all right, from Saturday to Sunday, giving you the very best in-depth analysis, great lineup, engaging discussions, and very interesting personalities on here as well. We also raised awareness on drug abuse as well as scleroderma. So much we talked about on here. But hey, the fun doesn't stop, does it? No, it doesn't. Because coming up right after this is going to be time for In Game. I know that Favor and his gang is on standby to give you the very best inside the world of sports. And of course, right after that will be the news at the top of the hour. So it's good night and goodbye from us. Mazino is here saying,
for a second there, I thought I wasn't going to be giving that chance.
Nika.
Bye-bye, everybody. Catch you guys next weekend.
Bye.